Hey everyone, it's Kothis, and it's time to wrap up the Crafting Everything series Part 3 for the Year of the Witch Queen. If you haven't watched Part 1 and Part 2 yet, I will put cards up on screen now, so make sure to check them out if you're wanting to know the best methods for crafting all of the other weapons that are currently available. In this video, we'll be going over all of the remaining miscellaneous weapons that aren't tied to raids or seasonal activities, anything like that. I will of course be showing you how to craft all of these weapons as well as what traits I put on them, since I do have 99% of these weapons crafted with enhanced traits. And as of right now, we aren't quite sure 100% what will be happening to these weapons once Lightfall releases, but if I had to guess, I'd say all but the world drop weapons will remain in the game, so you shouldn't feel too stressed out about getting most of these weapons immediately. Okay, first let's cover some baseline knowledge really quick so you can better understand the crafting system. First, every legendary weapon in the entire game has about a 10 to 15% chance at being a deep sight weapon, or we'll just call them red borders for this video. So essentially what that means is that all of the weapons discussed here will require you to find quite a few of them, since they only have a 10 to 15% chance at being a red border. You will also need 3 to 5 red borders of a particular weapon to unlock its pattern or blueprint. You can always check your progress towards the entire library of weapon patterns from right here in the Patterns and Catalysts section of your Triumphs tab. This lets you know how many red borders you need, how many you have, and will definitely come in handy on your journey to unlocking all of these patterns if that's something that you want to do. Next, once you unlock the pattern for a weapon, you can craft as many of that weapon as you want. I normally don't feel that I need to craft multiple of the same weapon, but if you really want to, you can make a PvE and a PvP roll of all of your favorite weapons, so just go for it, have fun. Also, for any trait recommendations I give, I will always recommend going with the enhanced version of that trait, simply because they are objectively better, even if by a small amount. And if you didn't know, for crafted weapons, masterworking is done by selecting an enhanced frame for a plus 10 stat of your choice, as well as adding 2 enhanced traits for that weapon, so you can't masterwork it unless you get those enhanced traits. If you can do all of this and get your weapon to level 20, you will actually get a plus 2 stat bump to each stat on that weapon. Not a lot of people know that. It's a very small improvement, but hey, it's something, and as Destiny players, we are perfectionists. If you can't add enhanced traits because I know it's expensive, it's totally fine. I will leave it up to you to decide if they are worth adding. Let's start off at the beginning of the year with the Throne World set. These are all of the light bluish weapons with the periodic table of elements on them. You've got 8 in total, but we will actually include the Enigma Glaive in here to make it 9, since this will be the first weapon you craft. The Enigma is an unmissable pattern to collect as long as you're doing the campaign. It's as easy as following the quest steps for it, and then you can just craft it. It's a void adaptive glaive, and as for mine, I went with Impulse Amplifier and Rampage. Originally I had Unrelenting on here, but Unrelenting does not work with the melee attacks, so it makes that perk almost useless. Alright, moving on to the actual Throne World set, you've got 2 ways to obtain patterns for these. Empirical Evidence, Likely Suspect, Forensic Nightmare, Pointed Inquiry, and the Red Herring are all farmable by just doing stuff in the Throne World. This could be done by ranking up with Finch, completing the Preservation mission for your weekly Pinnacle reward, Throne World quest rewards, higher difficulty campaign missions, and so on. And the other weapons, Tarnation, Fell Taradiddle, Come to Pass, and Father's Sins are all acquired from the Wellspring activity. Running Master difficulty will increase the drop rates for the guns in general, but it's really difficult to get a team to run these on Master difficulty right now since it's been out for so long. And what's pretty cool is an update that's coming out kind of close in the future will automatically guarantee you a red border of the weapon that's available that day, as long as it's just your first run. So this is going to make it really easy to craft all of these weapons. And thankfully, just about all of these Throne World weapons only need 2 to 3 patterns to complete, so they're really easy. And that's the main acquisition method for all of the Throne World weapons. Let's talk about some trait combos. To better understand each of these weapons, let's start off with the Psycho Hack origin trait that all of these have. It's pretty decent. It will lower an enemy's damage output by 10% as long as you're consistently damaging them with any of these weapons. It does work in the Crucible, but you'll most likely kill the enemy Guardian before Psycho Hack has a chance to proc, so it is better in PvE. So now that we understand the origin trait, let's talk about some of the specific weapons. Empirical Evidence first. This is an aggressive burst kinetic sidearm. I went with Perpetual Motion and Adagio Adagio, which is designed for Crucible. Perpetual Motion, if you haven't realized now, is one of my favorite PvP traits, and Adagio just works really well on this weapon for the extra damage output you get. If you don't like Adagio though, because it kind of changes up your fire rate, go with Swashbuckler, as it is a little bit more predictable. For the Forensic Nightmare, the Precision Frame Stasis SMG, I haven't used this in a long time, and I had Headstone on it before, which I really wouldn't recommend unless you're using it for PvE. I will be switching mine to Under Pressure and Kill Clip for PvP just to try it out. Under Pressure is just great for gaining that stability and accuracy as long as you're firing it, and obviously we all know Kill Clip is very strong as long as you can get it going. Come to Pass is a high impact arc auto rifle that I've really come to enjoy using in the Crucible. I went with Perpetual Motion and Golden Tricorn on mine, and when Tricorn is active, this thing can just melt Guardians. It can be difficult to proc, but it is for sure the best PvP trait in the right column in my opinion. Likely suspect, the Rapid Fire Void Fusion Rifle gets access to a really strong PvP combo with Heating Up and Successful Warm Up. These traits are meant to work together, allowing for a quicker charge time and more accuracy and stability after kills. Next up, Father's Sins. The Rapid Fire Void Sniper is kind of an interesting one. This sniper has such a low zoom, and its scope is really good. It's a decent sniper if you do like that low zoom feel, and I went with Under Pressure and Snapshot Sights to take it into the Crucible. It's pretty fun to use. Fel Terradiddle, or the most interesting weapon name on this list, is a lightweight kinetic bow. Nothing super interesting here for me, mainly because I'm not the biggest bow user, but I have used this as an anti-champion primary bow when I need it. This roll here with Archer's Tempo and Explosive Head can be used in both PvE and PvP, but if you are just looking for a roll to take into the Crucible, I would go with Archer's Tempo and Successful Warm-Up for some crazy fast draw times once you can get both traits ramped up. Pointed Inquiry up next. This is a high impact frame Void Scout Rifle. I actually really like this one, and I've used it in Grandmasters quite often. I chose the Genesis Adaptive Munitions roll here, which I believe this is the best way to use this scout rifle. Match game will be going away with Lightfall, thankfully, but I do think Adaptive Munitions will still be useful. You basically do more damage to mismatching shields, and when you break the shield, Genesis will refill the magazine. It's really good in my opinion. Moving on to the two heavy weapons now. Let's start off with the Red Herring Adaptive Void Rocket Launcher. For this one, I went with Tracking Module and Lasting Impression. I do realize Lasting Impression is a trait that not everyone likes because of its delayed detonation, so if that is the case, just go for Frenzy and use this rocket in PvE. And to wrap up the Throne World set, we've got the Tarnation, a rapid fire arc heavy grenade launcher. I'll be honest, I've used this thing like once since I've masterworked it. There's nothing inherently bad about this weapon, but heavy grenade launchers for me are just not worth swapping out for most other heavy weapons pretty much all of the time. However, it does get a trait combo that is pretty good with Clown Cartridge and Chain Reaction, so I might have to try it out more. Clown Cartridge can get this mag up to 8 on a reload, and Chain Reaction will just blow everything up around it. So my recommendations out of all of these weapons, they're all pretty easy to craft, but if you're looking for just the best ones and which ones you should really add enhanced traits to, I would say the Come to Pass and Empirical Evidence for PvP, and the Pointed Inquiry for running high-level stuff like Grandmaster Nightfalls. And that wraps up the Throne World set. Let's move on to Dares of Eternity. Long story short, you've got to do a lot of Dares of Eternity to get all of these weapons. The best, most optimal method is to grind out Legend Dares runs and complete Star Horse bounties while doing so. You'll get more lightning round opportunities on Legend, which leads to more treasure keys and weapon drops, which leads to more chances at getting red borders. But getting 6 people to run Legend Dares is not easy most of the time, so getting the easier Star Horse bounties done while playing normal difficulty will probably be the route that most people take. I will say that you have one guaranteed way to get a red border each week, and that's by completing the Pinnacle Challenge of getting a score of 250,000, so if you can manage it, try to get one Legend run in per week because it is very difficult to get 250,000 on normal. And as mentioned, make sure you are spending your treasure keys. This chest will give you a Dares weapon every time, with each one being that 10 to 15% chance at being a red border. You get treasure keys by just running Dares, but you can also get 1 to 3 keys from these Paraversal Halls that you can buy from Star Horse for 7 strange coins, which are, again, earned by just running Dares. So sadly, we don't have a way to just farm specific weapons here, but at least treasure keys are not very difficult to come by. The Dares weapons get the Hot Swap Origin trait, which dramatically increases handling when swapping to any of these weapons while damaged. This is an incredible trait for PvP, and all of these 6 weapons get it. The BXR Battler, or the Halo Battle Rifle, is the only Legacy PR55 frame in the game, and it's absolutely incredible. This is one of the rare cases where you really should craft 2 of these. For PvE, Demolitionist and Incandescent is really awesome because incandescent kills do work with Demolitionist, which will get your grenade back super quickly. As for PvP, you've got options. Craft what suits you here. I'm going with Perpetual and Eye of the Storm for a buttery smooth feeling weapon, but you could easily go with Killing Wind or Outlaw and Kill Clip. Lots of options here, it's really tough to go wrong. As for the Pardon Our Dust lightweight grenade launcher, in my opinion, you should use this as a utility weapon for Grandmasters or any high-end content. Blinding and autoloading is phenomenal for this, and it can really help you stay alive with enemies not shooting at you. The right column trait doesn't matter too much here, but I went with Demolitionist. Next, the Retraced Path Adaptive Solar Trace Rifle has a lot going for it, and there are a lot of roles that can work. I went with Subsistence and Incandescent for PvE, just an overall solid pick when you're running Solar. But you've also got Feeding Frenzy and Demolitionist that you could run too. Or if you wanted to try a PvP role, you've got Perpetual or Killing Wind and Golden Tricorn Focus Fury. This thing is great and you should definitely make one. Half-Truths, the Adaptive Arc Sword gets a role that I really like for swords. Unrelenting and Chain Reaction. Unrelenting will heal you on kills, and Chain Reaction will cause area of effect damage for more kills for more healing. I know Eager Edge is the obvious choice here as well, but I don't feel the need to have Eager Edge on 2 swords, since we'll be putting that one on the other half sword. And speaking of the other half, yes, Eager Edge is what I go here with Frenzy. But if you love running Void, then I'd recommend trying out Repulsor Brace, but Frenzy is good for that neutral game where you can just make it work reliably on any subclass. I'm telling you, Eager Edge will change the game for you. It's so much easier to move around and get places so much more quickly. I always have this in my inventory and it's just ready to go. And wrapping up the Dares set, you've got the Wastelander M5, the lightweight kinetic shotgun. For this one, I prefer its utility in PvP, and I went with Perpetual Motion and Opening Shot. There are definitely good PvE roles here too, with things like Pugilist and 1-2 Punch, so go with whatever playstyle you prefer. And as for what weapons you should be going for here, if you're only looking for the best, you're kind of out of luck here. All Dares loot is RNG based, kind of like the Throne World set, so you're at the mercy of how the game decides to treat you. But that being said, if you can get it, the BXR Battler is worth the grind, it's phenomenal, as well as the other half sword, which thankfully you only need 1 pattern for, and the first time you find the other half, it's guaranteed to be red border. So it's actually not too bad to craft. Destiny also has some world drops that can be crafted. These can be found by doing almost anything in the game. A few of them are attached to quests that you'll get through owning the Witch Queen, like the Taipan and Amit weapons. They're just super easy to get. You'll basically just complete their quests to unlock the patterns for them, and you get it. As for the others, whether it's decrypting engrams from Rahul, completing most activities, getting it as a random legendary drop, leveling up a vendor, and so on, these are generally very easy to get, as you'll be showered with all of these weapons so often. Alright, real quick, post-editing Kothis coming in here, and you can actually focus these world weapons at the star chart if you want for red borders. You can see I actually got one right here, so pretty easy. And since these aren't officially a part of a set, there's no unique origin trait for them, unlike the other sets. You'll just get the standard Foundry origin trait like Suro Synergy, Vice Stinger, and so on, so we're not going to cover them here. We've got 5 world drop weapons that are craftable, so let's cover them. Starting with the Amit Precision Frame Solar Auto Rifle, this is a great weapon and I'm really glad it's available as a quest to everybody. It's a jack of all trades weapon that can be used in both PvP and PvE. My PvE role is Ambitious Assassin and Incandescent to have a huge magazine and tons of scorching. Or if you just want tons of damage output for PvE, go with Ambitious Assassin and One for All. As for PvP, you've got the glorious Dynamic Sway and Tap the Trigger roll, which is a really strong roll on auto rifles and the Crucible. Syncopation next, the Adaptive Stasis Pulse Rifle is another really solid workhorse style weapon in the Crucible. It's easy to use and the perks don't really require too much setup to get going. Compulsive Reloader just pairs really nicely with the Suro Synergy origin trait, so reloads will be super fast and it'll also give you boosted handling and reduced flinch. I went with Frenzy in the right column, which just passively works for you, giving you a 15% free damage boost as long as you're in combat, as well as boosted handling and reload speed. The Taipan. What a beautiful weapon. It's a precision frame void linear fusion rifle that is an absolute beast. You never have to worry about not having a good weapon for boss damage because you've got access to this by just completing a quest. Make sure to craft it with triple tap and firing line for boosted damage while next to allies, and more rounds return to the magazine with triple tap. And to take this even further, you've got probably the best origin trait in the game, Viced Stinger, which can literally refund the entire mag back to you. I can't tell you how many damage phases I've done without ever reloading. It's so good and it's so easy to use. Moving on, the Ragnhild D Shotgun. Get this with Perpetual Motion and Elemental Capacitor and bring it into the Crucible with an Arc or Solar subclass. You'll get your choice of near max reload speed or handling once Perpetual Motion ×2 is procced, which is mostly all of the time while you're in Crucible. The sights are also non-invasive, giving you a clear view of your surroundings while ADS. And finally, we will finish up this section with a Palmyra B Hake Precision Frame Stasis Rocket Launcher. Very solid choice here, but it is second to the Bump in the Night from Season of the Haunted. Go with auto-loading and Chill Clip here. Chill Clip is really good against bosses with all the shatter damage it can do, and the Hake Precision Frame will have built-in tracking rockets, which is really helpful. Alright, so kind of like all the weapons so far, most of these weapons are not able to be farmed for specifically, so you'll just kind of have to find them and get their red borders randomly. Most of them only require 2 to 3 patterns, so they are super easy to craft, but as for going all in on weapons like enhanced traits, make sure to get your Taipan, Amit, and Syncopation all set up. These are great weapons and will help you whether you're new or a veteran to the game. Let's do a super quick section on 2 out-of-place weapons that are just randomly in the Duality Dungeon. These are either found from encounter drops from Duality or from its secret chests. In Duality, you've got 2 secret chests, so make sure you grab these on every first Duality run of the week per character. The first one is just after the Galran fight when you're rotating the statues. Just jump in this room and go get it. The second one is during the second bell puzzle area after the fight with the 3 Centurions. It's in this purple gemstone stuff under this bridge. And as for the origin trait on these weapons, called To Excess, it will increase your discipline and strength while your super is full and while you're getting kills. Not bad. Alright, let's cover these weapons, starting with the Epicurean. I think this is a pretty underwhelming weapon, so I haven't added any enhanced traits to it yet, but I'll eventually be going with Feeding Frenzy and Repulsor Brace. Repulsor has kind of seen a resurgence lately. It's a really good trait to run with Void for easy overshields. And the next weapon, Fixed Odds, the High Impact Machine Gun, I went with Feeding Frenzy and Killing Tally. Killing Tally will get you a 30% damage boost after just 3 kills, and Feeding Frenzy will speed up your reloads with up to 5 kills. Incandescent is another obvious choice here, so go with whatever's best for you. And those are the 2 Duality weapons, nice and quick section. Alright, let's wrap up this super long video with the 5 exotic craftable weapons so far. These are all obtained in different ways, so we'll just cover each one fully on its own. For each of these weapons, you will need to own the Witch Queen, so just know that. Starting with the Osteostriga, just complete the campaign on normal or become legend, it doesn't really matter, and it's a pattern that's given to you by Ikora right after you finish it. Osteostriga is a monster of a weapon, probably my favorite out of the exotics in this section. I went with short action stock here, and feel free to choose whatever mag and barrel that you want here, just choose one that suits your playstyle best. This weapon will fire poison projectiles that will seek out enemies, and with its catalyst, it will return ammo and overflow the mag on precision kills. It's actually pretty easy to get well over 100 rounds in the mag here. It's a phenomenal weapon. Moving on, let's cover the Revision Zero. If you haven't seen it yet, I do have a guide up for how to obtain the base version of this weapon. There are a lot of upgrades that you can get. Just follow the Season of the Seraph questline and you'll get all of them. The thing that's unique about this weapon is you can go to the Enclave and swap out its catalysts at any time, depending on what playstyle you want to have. I'm not sure if the acquisition method will be the same once Lightfall releases, but as for now, this is how it works. Revision Zero is just so smooth in Crucible. I've racked up over 400 kills on mine, and I prefer mine with a heavy burst fire, with perpetual motion and the pressurized refit for under pressure. It's so easy to fire in Crucible. Make sure to get everything done for this weapon before Lightfall just in case, because it's so good. The added sniper effect on this just makes it even more unique too. You get a scout rifle and a sniper all in one. And finishing up this list, we've got 3 mega underwhelming class glaives. Titans get the edge of action, Hunters get the edge of concurrence, and Warlocks get the Edge of Intent. These are all acquired from a long series of quests that are just way too much work for what you get, in my opinion. I'd recommend just not even getting these unless you're a completionist. Then you can get them, but they're just not good at all. You'll basically have to complete the entire evidence board at the Enclave, do more stuff in the Throne World, and finally pray for good RNG for the pattern to drop for you in the Wellspring. Thankfully, with an update launching sometime soon, you won't need to fully craft each of the Throne World weapons to access the final part of this quest. You'll just need one pattern for each, and as mentioned earlier in this video, your first pattern of that day in the Wellspring will be a guaranteed red border weapon. Great change. Let's just hope these glaives get buffed again in the future because they look really cool. The way it works now, you basically need to charge up these glaives and you can spend the energy to get different effects. The Titan glaive can spawn a mini Ward of Dawn, the Warlocks can spawn a healing turret, and the Hunters will launch a wave of lightning on the ground. Osteostriga and Revision Zero are two must-haves though, so make sure you grab them. Alright everyone, another super long video, but I wanted to make sure to get this out with a moderate amount of time before Lightfall. I really hope this helped you out, and if you still have questions, just make sure to drop me a comment, or of course, join the Discord where we talk about Destiny all the time, and we're here to help you through raids, dungeons, whatever you need. Alright everyone, I will see you all in the next video.